Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing really well and welcome back to my podcast Life of an Entrepreneur and welcome back to another episode. So on Friday last week I actually met up with two other artists that you probably have heard of, one being Shannon Mullen, who I've met loads of times now. I literally only saw her about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And the other one was Hannah Lipsey. She used to do pet portraits, but now she's transitioned into like shiny objects, like super hyper realistic drawings, and she's doing really, really well with it. We were meant to meet up a few months ago in London, but we didn't end up meeting up because of one thing or another. So we had a coffee and chatted for about 2 hours, and we were laughing because obviously me and Hannah have talked for quite a bit on Instagram and stuff, but we've never met up in person. But I've met Shannon quite a few times in person now. But we were saying, you know, if you do kind of the same career or you have some of the same things in common, like you could just talk for hours about all sorts of things. Like you automatically have that one thing in common that you can all relate to. So I think it's always a good thing, like meeting up with artists in person and just listening to their sort of journey, what they're doing, what they're up to. And you can't always relate all the time to like your friends in terms of like work, because everyone's doing completely different things, and being self-employed you don't have like work colleagues to chat to all the time. So it's nice to have these little meetups and kind of bounce ideas off each other and just chat about what each other are up to, really. So that's what I got up to on Friday. But I feel like recently the days have just been flying by. Like time just goes so quick. I feel like the days just aren't long enough. Like today I've been into Manchester, and this morning I made a list of like all the things that I wanted to get done today, and to be honest, I have done most of the things on that list, but it annoys me that I've not done all of them. I've done most of them. This podcast was on my list. I've done all the podcast notes. I just caught up with loads of admin bits. I think it's really good for me to have like one day a week where I go into town and actually spend time just catching up with all the admin stuff and like bits of editing and just replying to people. I think I should really be better at just kind of allocating a bit of time every day to do that, but I'd rather just get it all done in one big block once a week. Obviously important emails I'll get back to. I don't leave them for a week, but all just like Patreon admin stuff, editing, workshop preparation stuff, writing scripts for like upcoming reels, planning content for social media, like all of that stuff I tend to do once a week. I think managing your workload as an artist is kind of crucial for keeping you balanced and also avoiding those feelings of like being overwhelmed. You don't want that. It is challenging trying to juggle being creative, like all your creative ideas, commissions, teaching, like whatever it is you've got going on, like deadlines, making time for projects that you want to work on for yourself, like original work, filming, like having a social life. Balancing all of that can be a lot, and I feel like this year has literally gone like that. I know I keep saying in every single episode, like I can't believe it's April, but honestly it's gone so quick. The days are just flying by, and I don't know if it's because I am enjoying living in Manchester or what. I feel like I am being really productive, but I also feel like the days are just flying by. Maybe it is because I've moved to Manchester and it's a different environment, and I'm probably getting a lot more done with the faster internet, and maybe because I'm spending like one day a week in Manchester, it feels like the week's slightly shorter. I don't know, but I thought I'd do an episode on this because it's like, how do you manage your workload when you feel like you just don't have time? There's literally not enough hours in the day or the week. Could do with double the time. A lot of people around me, like my friends at home, they tend to work 9 to 5. So when 5 o'clock comes around, they can switch off from work, relax, not think about it. And I think it must be nice having those set hours where you can actually relax in the evening and just completely switch off, because that does not happen over here. I feel like if you love what you do, you're wanting to grow it, you're self-employed, or you trying to go from like part-time to full-time, or even if you're already full-time, just trying to grow it a little bit more. You're literally living and breathing what you're doing like all the time. It's constantly, and also even just as a creative, like everything's inspiration. You're constantly thinking of ideas, like things just pop into your head at all hours. And I feel like it can be a lot to deal with and manage and cope with. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about some of the ways that have helped me kind of manage everything that's going on in my head, and ways that have just helped me stay organised. One thing that massively helped me the other day was scheduling all my content and putting loads of reels and posts into my drafts on like TikTok and YouTube, because I had content that I'd posted on Instagram but not on TikTok and YouTube. And like every day, every week, every month, I'd think, right, one day or for a few hours I'll go through this and just sort it out, just so I've got the same content on each platform Because obviously if I've spent time editing a reel, I want to make sure I've put it on all platforms, not just on Instagram and then I forget about it, and I could have used it for TikTok and YouTube. So I just wanted to organise that really, because I had a lot of reels that I just needed to put on these other platforms, and also schedule some of the ones that I had ready that I'd not posted on any platforms yet. So I spent a few hours the other day when I was in Manchester, literally on my phone doing all of that stuff, making sure everything was scheduled and in my drafts with like the captions ready, the hashtags ready, the thumbnails ready. And it was a bit of a tedious task. I was just a bit like, I've done a lot here, but I've got about 25 reels and like just content in each platform ready to go now. So that's like at least a month and a half's worth of content. So now I don't have to worry about that every day, because I feel like as a creative, like I was saying before, you can get quite overwhelmed with all the ideas and stuff that are coming into your head and all these sort of daily tasks that you've got to do, and just to keep like running your business and make sure you're active on socials especially. And it can be a lot. It's one of them things that you just sort of brush aside. It is hard to kind of be consistent and like remember to post and be active on socials like every few days or every day. So now that I've got all that content ready, it's one thing less that I have to worry about every day. So yeah, I'm glad that I did that and just spent a few hours just going through all of that. As much as it was a bit of a boring task, it's done now. It's one thing less for me to think about every day. Because I think if I did that every single day, so like sit there like thinking, right, it's now time to post this carousel or this reel or whatever on whatever platform, the fact that I've got to find something to post, make sure it's edited, think of a caption, do all the hashtags, find a sound, post it at the right time. In my head, it feels like a much bigger task than it actually is. In reality, it would only take me sort of 5-10 minutes, if that. But in my head, because there's so many little things to do to post it, I just think, I'll just carry on with what I'm doing and I'll just post it tomorrow. And then you kind of lose that consistency. So I feel like that's also why all 3 of those platforms were like totally out of sync with what I'd actually posted. So I'm glad that I've sorted that out, and I recommend doing that if you are someone that struggles with being consistent on social media. It feels like a little weight off my shoulders almost. So if you find it quite difficult to stay on top of like posting on social media and just, editing content and everything like that, definitely try and spend an hour or 2 this week just preparing content, scheduling it, getting it ready to post, because then you don't even have to think about it over the next few weeks. And you'll thank yourself because it's one less thing that you have to think about every day, and you'll be sorted then for the next few weeks or the next month. So yeah, batch content creating and just having a bit more of a schedule definitely will save you so much time. And like I said, it reduces that little bit of daily stress. In terms of managing workload in general as an artist, I find block scheduling really helpful. So like allocating time slots for different tasks. So like the morning for admin or like the boring part of work, and then the afternoon or the evening where I can relax a little bit more for the kind of creative drawing side of things. Also avoid multitasking, because although it feels like you're doing more, if you focus on one thing at a time, you'll be way more productive. If you're doing like 10 things at once and your attention just keeps shifting from one thing to another, you're not ticking anything off on your to-do list. It just kind of builds up them tasks to become even bigger in your head. And then that's when you become overwhelmed. So definitely try the time blocking. So how can you stay organised and on top of everything as an artist? Firstly, organise your workspace. Tidy space, tidy mind, which I've said so many times in my other episodes, but it really does help. Just remove like all the clutter, because it's just a distraction and you can't think, well, I can't think properly if I've got stuff everywhere. And I know that as artists, like it is somewhat organised chaos in a way, but yeah, just neaten things up and you'll find that your head is just a bit clearer. Try and prioritise your tasks. So anything that's urgent and important, do that first. Anything that's important but not necessarily urgent, you might want to schedule. And anything that's urgent but not as important, you might want to delegate, so give someone else that task to do, or do it yourself at a later date. I've mentioned this organizer planner before. I actually got this over Christmas ready to use for the new year. It's by Grace Beverly and it's called the Productivity Method. It's also a diary as well. It's basically 10 things in one book. I think it was about £30. It's the best thing for keeping me organised. It's got all my to-do lists in here, literally day by day. You can also time block your days if you want to. I've not done that because it's just a lot of effort kind of writing it all down. But yeah, definitely do the day by day to-do lists. And also at the start of every month, it's got a like top priority list. So like 3 things that you definitely want to achieve that month, and like how you're going to get there and how you're going to achieve it. And it's like personal goals, career goals, top priorities, reminders, how you're going to get there. Gives you a diary, time blocking, and then your day-to-day, weekly sort of to-do list for you to fill in. And it really does help me stay on track. I have mentioned this in a previous episode, and I did try and find this organizer online, but I think because it had just been Christmas, it was completely sold out. I'm sure she brings out a new one every year, or she just restocks it every year. I'm not sure, but I'll try and find it or one similar and link it in the video description below. If you're someone that organises yourself by like writing stuff down and you like to-do lists and things sort of written down, you'll definitely benefit from this organiser. How can you manage burnout as an artist? Well, I think at some point you're likely to experience burnout in one way or another. Firstly, it's being able to recognise the signs that you actually are burnt out. So if you have like a lack of motivation, if you're irritable, if you feel absolutely exhausted every day and you've just got like no motivation to keep going, or you just feel a bit like half dead, then the likelihood is you're probably burnt out because you've been working at like maximum 100% for weeks, days, whatever it is. Sometimes you need a bit more of a balance so you don't get to that point. So it's important to include a bit of downtime. If you're someone that likes to schedule things in, then schedule in that like relaxation time, because I guarantee if you have that one day off or an afternoon off where you just for yourself, just relax, like do something that you enjoy, when you come back to like work mode, you'll be 10 times more productive than if you just kind of powered through that extra day or that extra afternoon. You become a bit more sluggish. So having breaks where you just relax, it's kind of like a recharge, and then you come back with a bit of extra bounce in your step and a bit more motivation, which makes you obviously a lot more productive. So yeah, having that balance and being able to relax here and there is definitely essential, especially as someone who's self-employed and a creative person. You could literally work forever. So yeah, it's important to have a bit of a social life and just, take some time for yourself as well. Try and avoid overcommitting and prepare for like the unexpected days where you might need some time off, but you've not allowed that to happen because you're booked up for the whole entire month. It's important just to keep a few days free for those relaxation days, or for whatever pops up, whether it's someone's birthday, a celebration, whatever it is. You really don't want to be working every single day of the month. And to be honest, having a few days spare, even if you aren't relaxing, even if you feel like you could work a bit more, might be an opportunity just to catch up with things as well. We definitely need a bit of downtime, so just remind yourself of that every now and again if you are someone who works a lot. Over Christmas in particular, I felt so overwhelmed and completely burnt out, probably throughout the whole of November and December. I took on way too much work, especially commissions, which I find quite draining if you're doing one after another. But yeah, I definitely took on too much work at the end of last year. So this year, to avoid feeling like that again, I've cut down massively on commissions, and I'm focusing more on like the teaching and workshop Patreon side of things to make sure I'm having more of a variety each month. And I'm still doing commissions, still doing this podcast, like different things are going on. But yeah, my commissions on as like back to back. I'm just doing them like commissions are more of my downtime now, where I can just like put something on in the background on Netflix, or just put some music on, podcast on, and just draw more like leisurely and not feel like I'm rushing through it to start the next one. And it's to be honest, I feel like the quality of the work's a little bit better as well, because I'm able to spend more time on perfecting those details, and I can leave it for a few days and then return to it if I think it's finished, and then I might just find something else that needs tweaking, whereas before I'd think, right, that's finished, I'll leave it at that, I need to start the next one tomorrow, so I'll leave it at that. Whereas if I'd left it a few days and returned to it, I might have actually been able to tweak other little bits to improve it slightly, if that makes sense. But I'm finding the variety every day to be better this year, not as stressed or overwhelmed, which is good because I feel like I'm producing better work and I'm staying on top of things a lot more. I think it's important to set boundaries within your work and try and keep your personal life, like leisure, social life, separate to work life. like, for example, me and Conrad, we both are self-employed. He does like lead generation for companies through Facebook and Meta ads, which is so in-depth. But like, we could literally go out for tea and both talk about work the whole entire time, but it becomes too much then. So I think it's important just to have like friends or people you can be around where you're not talking about work at all, just completely zone out and get into a different headspace from that to completely just, relax from it a little bit. I also find it helpful if you try and automate like the repetitive tasks within your work. So like email marketing and, like I said before, like the social media posts that can be scheduled and posting whilst you're not even thinking about it. So you come across as being active on social media, but actually you're spending your time working on other things. But more than anything, I think it's really important to try and celebrate the little wins. So if you've achieved something or you've reached a goal, go and celebrate that. And also that reflection on what you've just achieved can like motivate you to keep going to achieve the next thing. Gives you a little boost, I think. But if you never celebrated any of those little wins, it's like, what are you doing all of this for? So yeah, definitely just take the time to reflect and, celebrate something that you've done that you're proud of that week or whatever it is. I think the main thing that you can take away from this podcast episode is that managing workload is about finding balance, staying organised, and definitely prioritising yourself. Obviously, I've spoken about quite a few different ways that you can achieve that, but maybe just start small and try one new strategy this week. And like build it from there, see if it works for you. If there's a particular way that you stay organised or you do something that helps you manage your workload, I'd love to hear it, so comment below. I think it's interesting to hear how like other artists and other creative people kind of stay on top of everything. Everyone's got their own sort of ways of doing things, but thought it'd be nice to share some, but also it'd be nice to hear like what works for you as well. Like some people schedule everything day to day, like digitally. Some people have checklists and to-do lists like me. Some people just literally go with the flow and see what they feel like doing on the day. So let me know what works for you. And yeah, thank you for making it to the end of this episode. I hope you found it really helpful. Please like, share and subscribe if you haven't already, because it really helps to push this podcast. I hope you've all had a lovely Easter weekend and I'll see you next week.